Hey y'all, welcome back to the party. It is me, your girl, BrittReacts, and today we're going to react to something that was so highly requested after my last reaction to this young lady that I felt no choice. This is SHOEONHEAD discussing the downfall of the Democrats, the truth about the 2024 election. Let's see what she has to say. Okay.
Election night in America, one of the most consequential elections in recent history.
Donald Trump has won the presidential election in Kentucky.
Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. Missouri will go to Donald Trump.
It's clear now that Donald Trump has picked up key support among Hispanic voters, despite all the things that he said.
Donald Trump will win the state of North Carolina.
That the state of Georgia will go to former President Donald Trump.
The evening was getting increasingly somber as people realized what this map is looking like.
CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Kamala Harris is not winning.
So you won't hear from the vice president tonight?
News Decision Desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Do you really think that the Democratic Party is fighting for you? The overwhelming answer is no.
That was such... Girl, I love this woman so much. What an intro. From the chaotic, like, Christmas music. Dun, 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 dun. Well, I identify it with Christmas. I don't know if it's actually Christmas music, but it's like all the mischievous things you've seen in movies. To the edit of Bernie. To the cracking of what looks to be a Monster energy drink, and she's pouring into a wine glass. This girl... SHOEONHEAD, can we be friends? This is like, someone get this on her desk and just take this clip and say, BrittReacts has a question for you. Can we hang out? I just think everything she does is so well done. And I say everything, I've seen one video. But I'm obsessed with her. All right, girl, I'm ready for you to spill the tea. That intro was chef's kiss.
Well. What have we learned? Nothing, apparently. I regret to inform you everything I predicted about the election in my last video came true and more. Men did overwhelmingly turn out for Trump, especially young men. But I was wrong about one thing. Young men weren't the only ones who came out in droves for Trump. Nearly everyone did. The madman took everything, every swing state, Pennsylvania, Georgia, my home state, New York, was closer to flipping red than Florida was to flipping blue. Turns out Dick Cheney as Brat wasn't the best message to win over voters. Dems did so bad it really had me thinking, damn, did we steal that election? So what happened here? How did it go so wrong? Is it too late for the Democratic Party, or can they turn this around? Will the Democrats learn from this, or will they double down and get worse? In this video, I'm going to go through all the excuses and the copes the Democrats and the broader left are coming up with to avoid accountability. Read some silly tweets, watch some silly news clips, and even give the Democratic Party some advice on how to win 2028. Don't worry, Republicans watching this. They won't listen. Maybe in 2050, under the barren Trump monarchy, someone might come to their senses, but not anytime soon. If you only watched or read most mainstream liberal news, it really seemed like Kamala had this in the bag, which is why you should try to get your news from a variety of different sources. Oh, that reminds me. Before we dive into this election dissection, let's give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, a sponsor I've been working with for over 4 years now, Ground News. Ground News is a website and an app that gives readers an easy and transparent way to read the news all across the political spectrum. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown that helps you understand the full story and makes sure you're getting both sides. One of my favorite features of Ground News is the blind spot feature, which shows you what news stories have been covered by one side of the political spectrum and ignored by the other. For example, here is a story about how Bernie Sanders is open to working with Trump on capping credit card interests, and there's 23 sources on it, and 89% are right-wing. No left-wing sources have covered the story. And this story about how 2 women have told the ethics panel that Matt Gaetz paid them for sex, 31 sources, 61% of them left-wing. You can even see who owns these political outlets. Ground News
Love it.
also makes it really easy and fun to compare headlines to see how ownership or political bias can affect the framing of a story. For example, this story about how a man was arrested after allegedly a stabbing spree in Manhattan that left 2 dead and 1 injured. This left-wing outlet says, man arrested after alleged stabbing spree in Manhattan that left 2 dead, 1 injured. This right-wing outlet says, 2 dead, 1 critically injured in Manhattan as knife-wielding maniac launches unprovoked stabbing spree. I have been using Ground News since 2021 and I am just obsessed with this app. It is a great and easy way to stay informed. Plus, it really helps me see how both sides frame the same story so differently. Best of all, for Black Friday, I am offering 50% off their Vantage plan, which is the plan I use to access all their amazing features. This is their biggest discount of the year, so go to ground.news/shoe, use the QR code here on the screen, or use the link in the video description down below and subscribe today for only $4.16 repeating per month. I personally think what they're doing is very important because it helps approach the news in a more balanced and transparent way, and I feel like we really need that nowadays. So thank you, Ground News, for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer, for not skipping the ad. Right? And now let's get back to this election dissection, shall we?
I'm gonna let you know I'm never gonna skip the ad. I'm never gonna skip the ad as a fellow content creator. Sorry guys, it's necessary. I'm like struggling. I want you to see the ad. I want you to support a fellow content creator. And I hope I want a sponsorship. Someone send a sponsorship my way. Okay, so the last time I reacted to this young lady, I was kind of on a journey to figure out where she stands politically. Not that I think stuff like that really matters when someone is very educated in or very well versed in or able to really express their point in a very clear way. I don't care what side you're on. Like, you know what I mean? But I like didn't know she was very fair. And because the internet can be so polarizing, I guess intuitively I was like, well, what side is she on? Well, you guys let me know. She is a liberal, but is she a leftist? She leans left, but she has I don't remember. But I realized that her husband is a Republican. He is more right wing. She identifies more left wing, but she also can see the wrong wherever it falls. And I appreciate that she is on the internet to spread accurate, fair point of view. And that's really what it is point of view. Is everything she says fact? No. Is a lot of what she says fact? Yeah. I mean, she literally just showed you headlines, but I think no matter what, her point of view is it's backed. She backs it with great facts. She backs it with, she cites a lot of her sources. And I think she's phenomenal. On top of the fact that her editing is great, her humor in this is fantastic. Her beats, her pauses are done really well. And for me, it's super informative. You guys know, and some of you disagree with this position, and that's fine. I don't care. Like, it's fine if you disagree with me, but this is my stance because it's my life and it's my channel. Okay. I am not here to be a divisive, polarizing human. That's really it. So I really struggle with coming on here and even reacting to like real deal political stuff because one, I know I'm not 100% well versed in it and I don't ever want to misinform or be ignorant. But I also don't ever want my channel to be a breeding ground for hate and disagreement and trolling and all those things because people just don't know how to mind their business or agree to disagree. But this felt, I really appreciate the way she presents her content. And so this felt like a safe alternative to that. And also, I'm really interested to see what she has to say. I definitely have my own points of view, and what I'm comfortable sharing, I will share. And I'm excited to read your comments. There were so many informative comments. So don't feel like I'm telling you not to come in my comments with opinions. I just think As long as we keep it kind and respectful, I'm fine. But the moment that you take kindness and respect out of it, block party. Block. Biggity blocked. Because I don't see the need to be nasty. You know what I'm saying? And I think overwhelmingly so, 97% of you agree with me. All right? So let's dive in.
No point in saying good morning, because it certainly is not one.
From blaming the American people to blaming
finds
Joe
the best
Rogan,
clips.
the Democrats and the media are having a hard time coping with their
Rogan.
loss, and I don't blame them. It was a pretty big loss. Embarrassing, quite frankly. Donald Trump overperformed in nearly every state, with basically every demographic, and the entire country seems to be shifting more red. Everyone was so sure dangerous, devious, dastardly Donald would never make his way back into the White House to steal democracy. And he did it. With democracy. Anyway, I got a lot of comments on my last video like, wait, you're left-wing and you hate the Democrats? Yeah, man, that's a pretty common thing. If you were shocked that I'm left-wing, maybe that's a sign you need to take a step back and evaluate some of the preconceived stereotypes you have of people. Not all of us are crazy blue-haired socialists. No. Some of us are crazy brown-haired socialists. But for those of you who are new here, hello, I am SHOEONHEAD. If you ask the right wing, I am Stalin. If you ask the left wing, I am Hitler. Fiscally far left, culturally centrist, socially retarded. But if you really must...
Let's rewind that. I love how she just broke that down.
Hitler. Fiscally far left,
Fiscally far left, culturally
SHOEONHEAD.
centrist.
If you ask the right wing, I am Stalin. If you ask the left wing, I am Hitler.
That's
Fiscally
crazy.
far left, culturally centrist, socially retarded. But if you really must
She
put
used
me in
the
a
R
box,
word.
it's not that hard to pin me down. I'm a populist. Think Huey Long if he was a 5'3" Italian New Yorker woman who still did her hair and makeup like it was 2008. Put a pin in that Huey Long name, by the way. He's gonna come up later. I grew up in the 90s and the 2000s. My political awakening was jibjab.com. The first time I voted for Obama. I was ready for that hope and change. Instead, we got the crushing of Occupy Wall Street and more drone strikes. And from there, it only got worse. I voted for Bernie in the primaries in 2016, and I watched as the Democratic Party did everything in their power to destroy this man twice. So it is safe to say I am a little biased when it comes to the Democratic Party, but I don't think I've hated them more than I do right now. The truth is, my last video was way meaner and way harsher than the final product turned out to be. When I showed the video to my assistant, he basically had an intervention with me, and he was like, listen, you need to soften this up a bit. It's a few days before the election. You went too hard. Well, the election is over. And I'm sorry, River, but I'm going hard.
I love that her assistant's name is River. You know, before she said she was a New Yorker, I didn't hear the accent, and now it's all I hear. I love this girl. All right. I just... Buckle up.
You idiots. You morons. You imbeciles. Kamala Harris? Really? That's who you threw up there? The one who dropped out before Iowa? The one who got blown the out by Tulsi Gabbard? Why didn't you hold a primary? Aren't you the saviors of democracy? Where the was the democracy? Oh, big congratulations to Tim Walz on being the first white male DEI hire. It didn't work. The DNC completely neutered that guy, reduced him to this weird token white man. Hello, fellow men. I too play football. But hey, men weren't the only demographic you completely dropped the ball with. Trump made incredible gains with women, too. Oh, and all those never Trumpers you tried to court, the people who like the old, respectable GOP. You know, the old, respectable GOP that led us into a pointless war that cost us trillions of dollars and millions of lives. But we're at least nice on Twitter. That GOP. Yeah, they didn't come out and vote for your ass either. So you got Liz Cheney to tag along for what? For f***ing what? You raised $1 billion and ended up $20 million in debt? Where the hell did all that money go? Maybe you should have blown it all on celebrity appearances that did f***ing nothing. Or maybe it was spending
Celebrity appearances that every celebrity swears they didn't get paid for. Oh, what? She's going in. She's going in. She's going in. Wow. I think I'm processing. I'm like, remember how AOL used to dial up? That's what's going on in my brain right now. I'm dialing up all of this information. So she starts off by saying, like, where was the democracy? How come you guys just threw Kamala up there? Why didn't you hold an emergency primary and let us all vote for who the next Democratic presidential candidate would be, instead of just telling us it was Kamala Harris? That's a fair question. I think a lot of people just assumed it would be her or expected it to be her, but that's not the way it had to be in reference to how our government works. Nonetheless, they threw her up there. I think she had 90 days to campaign. And I think the best way to put this, someone said to me, you know, as a black woman, it was another black woman saying, you know, black women showed up in droves for Kamala Harris. I think it was like 92 or 95% of black women voted for her. And I think it's because she was relatable as far as how black women present or show up, right? You can't talk to me like that. Don't interrupt me while I'm talking during the debate, or, you know, I'm mamala. Like all of these things that really black women, black mothers, black aunties, black grandmas kind of possess. The neck snapping, the things that a lot of people identify as ghetto, or hood or black. She came out and she was being herself, but I think instead of trying to diversify herself, she really spoke to who she believed was her audience. And I think they thought that was enough. And in hindsight, I don't know what everyone thought ahead of time, but in hindsight, if you really stop and think about it and you're honest, if you are a Kamala voter, you would say, like, yeah, I mean, she didn't speak to young white men. She didn't speak to white women. She didn't speak to rich white men. She really only spoke to a very small community of voters when you think of the grand scheme of things. And, you know, a lot of it was spent on talk shows and celebrity appearances and podcasts. And, you know, I argued very neutrally that in the day of podcast, streaming, social media, I didn't see what was so wrong with her making those choices. But when you only have 90 days and your opponent had been campaigning for much longer than that, perhaps it wasn't the smartest idea. And again, this is someone I was saying, like, I don't know if it's that bad. I mean, maybe she's trying to reach a different audience, but I think she didn't engage others enough. She only engaged the people who looked like her or grew up around people that look or sound like her. And I say sound like her because I think she spoke very, to me, it was indicative of the women I've grown up with and how, you know, black women speak. And it's always rooted in love, but it can come off aggressive if you don't have context or you weren't raised to have tough skin. And that's my take. That's my take. And so I agree here with SHOEONHEAD when she says, like, you didn't even give people an option. But the rest of this, she's flaming. She's hot right now. She's
Money,
hot.
though. Maybe you should have blown it all on celebrity appearances that did nothing. Or maybe it was spending 6 figures on a single-use set for the Call Her Daddy podcast that didn't even hit 1 million views. I want to see a full audit of this campaign, because I wouldn't be surprised if this was all like a big money laundering scheme, because honestly, that makes more sense than this being a legitimate presidential campaign. Then
That's an accusation.
They had the audacity to beg their supporters for money after she lost. How about you?
No, they didn't.
How about every DNC consultant should have this map sewn onto the inside of their eyelids? May they never have a peaceful wink of sleep for the rest of their miserable lives. So that is how I feel about the whole situation. But what do Democrats and the media think? What do they think the Harris campaign did wrong? Why do they think Kamala lost?
I think Harris ran a really good campaign. If there's one person I do not blame for this loss, it is Vice President Harris.
Okay.
This is gonna be a long fucking video. The media this morning saying Dems need to have a reckoning. No, we don't. We can't be blamed because we expected Americans to be who they always claim they are. Democrats don't have a messaging problem. America has a racism problem. Kamala ran a flawless campaign in 100 days, and I refuse to let y'all gaslight me into believing anything other than that. She lost because she's a woman, and a black one at that.
I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign.
Listen, I'm no political analyst, but losing seems like a pretty big flaw. Please don't overthink it. It's because she's a woman, she's a black woman. Don't overthink it. In fact, don't think about it at all.
And Kamala Harris lived up to our dreams. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. She ran a remarkable 107-day emergency campaign full of joy and hope.
Kamala Harris was the perfect candidate, and she ran a beautiful campaign of joy, empathy, and unity. Joy and empathy and unity doesn't motivate people to go to the polls. No wonder
I think that's it. I think that's it, right? Like, nothing's wrong with joy and unity and things like that. But in an economy that we've been in, and just in the climate of the world that we live in, people don't care about joy and empathy. People care about feeding their children and making money and being wealthy and passing that down to their children. People care about border safety. People care about, non-emotional things. And again, this is what I'm saying. Like, I think she touched the hearts of a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of black women, but that simply just isn't enough in the place that our country is in right now. Do I think her campaign was flawless? I don't think it was flawless, but again, I think there is room there to say this woman did what she did in 100 and I think that just said 7 days. And I think she did do a good job of being overwhelmingly positive and, doing what she needed to do, given the circumstances of an emergency campaign. But I don't know how much different the campaign would have been had she had the full time. I don't know. This is so intriguing to me.
In unity. Joy and empathy and unity doesn't motivate people to go to the polls. No wonder Republicans had incredible turnout and so many Democrats stayed home. This isn't Steven's universe. You just can't joy and empathy and unity your way out of not being.
And this was the other thing. So many people were so emotionally charged and emotionally affected that a lot of people were blaming the people who didn't get out and vote. They were like, I don't like either candidate, so I'm not voting, which is an emotional decision. Sometimes adults have to remove emotion. And that goes for a lot of things in life. But to make a decision that you're just not going to go either way, some people feel like that was a huge detriment to Kamala's campaign. These are things I've read. These are things I've heard. I'm not saying I believe them, but that's definitely things I've been seeing.
Stayed home. This isn't Steven's universe. You just can't joy and empathy and unity your way out of not being able to afford food for your family. CNN has a story titled, Where the Harris Campaign Went Wrong. Nope. I won't read it. Harris ran a great campaign. The story should be titled, Where the American People Went Wrong.
So how do you blame the American?
I can't hear you. It's not me, it's you. La la la.
Right.
The cope is unreal here. They don't even want to listen to criticism.
Right.
They really think they did absolutely nothing wrong. They only see this as a Trump win and not a Democrat failure. Kamala Harris was not a flawed candidate. America is a flawed country. This incredible tweet here is from Shannon Watts, who is on the board of Emerge America, which is an organization that, quote, shows Democratic women how to run for office. Yeah, we're never getting a female president.
Joe Biden's been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left.
No one sees how wrong and idiotic that is? Why do you have to show women how to become do you have to show men? Or do you just have to show people? Okay. Sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot.
Getting a female president.
Joe Biden's been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transitional figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
He would absolve...
Whoa!
What the f*** is this Make-A-Wish president shit? Like she's a little kid who wants to play pretend. Oh, just let her for a few days. What? Please tell me. We're not gonna get the first female president out of pity. Well done, America. You failed them both. The people cannot let politicians down. That's not how this works. As a politician, you are not owed anyone's vote. You have to earn it, and evidently she didn't earn it. We already went through this in 2016. Donald Trump beat both female candidates. Donald iron sealing Trump. It's not our fault the female candidates you're putting up are dog shit. Give us some good female candidates and maybe people will vote for them. At this rate, the first female president is going to be a Republican. Mark my words, it's bound to...
I agree with her. I agree with her. I agree with her. I think the Democrats have presented what people perceive to be weak female candidates, and now no one will even listen to another Democratic candidate if she's a female. Because 2 out of 3, buddy, we're not even going to give you the 3. You're done. Sit this one out. You're done.
Vote for them. At this rate, the first female president is going to be a Republican. Mark my words, it's bound to happen. And if it doesn't happen, this was a joke. One of the groups that showed up overwhelmingly for Trump was Latinos. One of the major stories of the results is the significant surge in support for Trump among Latino voters. Trump nearly erased the Democratic advantage in this group, narrowing the gap from 33 points to just 8. Democrats gonna build the wall 50 times higher after that one. We have to have a very, very uncomfortable conversation about Latino voters in this country. Me watching him deport the Latinos and the Arab Americans after they voted for him. And Cinco de Mayo.
Listen, friends, if a Latino voted, friends, they can't be deported. Question mark? Is that accurate? I'm asking. It feels that way to me. Like, to vote, you have to be a citizen of these here states. Can you then be deported as a citizen? Answer my question in the comments. It's a genuine question. I could be wrong. Here's my take before we get into this. Could be a hot take. Were there offensive things said about the Latino community? Yes. Did they come from Donald Trump? I'm going to let y'all answer that question. And I think overwhelmingly so, this is all about that Tony Hitchfield speech that he gave, and everyone pointed their finger at Donald, but that didn't come out of Donald's mouth. Let me tell you something about my Latino brothers and sisters, okay? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me, okay? Who cares? I think that's where it came from. It's like, okay, they said what they said. That's fine. But words over, can I feed my family? All of the actual political talk versus, what else? I don't know. See, this is where I don't like to get into this, because I'm like, sometimes I can't find my words, and I'm not afraid to say the wrong thing because I am totally open to being corrected, constructively criticized, and educated. But I just don't think the nana boo boo words were enough to hurt an entire community to take their emotional hurt and go vote for somebody they just didn't believe in. That's what I wanted to say.
Latinos and the Arab Americans after they voted for him. And Cinco de Mayo.
To all you Latinos that voted for Trump, I hope he mass deports you.
That's
and your entire
crazy
family,
to say.
Whether you were here legally
That's
or not.
Crazy.
I know
Emotional.
for a fact that
Emotional.
most Latinos for Trump have undocumented family members. So if you know of a Latino who voted for Trump, I urge you to call this number and report said family members.
Donald Trump's strongest
People are
soldiers,
nuts.
spiteful liberals.
A district that's 97% Latino went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some less.
That's what that was.
Another
That's do you see the difference between fact and emotion? She's saying, why do they care? The Latino population and community, so much of it is on the border, where the border is being literally pummeled. And in the background, you hear Joy and you hear Sunny, misogyny. What is misogynistic about that? I don't know the head of a household a man or anyone who is taking care of a family of any color who doesn't want their family to be safe and will go to grave lengths to do that. And if they feel unsafe because where they live, it's like, I'm not related to these people coming over the border, so because I'm Latino, I should just be like, let them in. They don't feel safe, then they're going to vote for who they feel like can make them feel safe. I don't think it has to do with racism or race or misogyny. I think it just is people, when they can't understand, they label it something that makes them understand. How could a Latino man, after they said all this about Latinos, go and vote for them? They just told you how. They want their families just as safe as anyone else. And if they're living on the literal front lines of the border, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I'm stressed. I'm struggling.
No, it's on the border. The border crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some less.
That's what that was. Another demographic for people that overwhelmingly showed up to vote against Kamala were Muslims. In a Michigan-specific poll of 502 registered Muslim voters, Stein got 59% support, followed by Trump at 22%, and Harris with a tiny 14% of the vote. The results show significant backlash to the Biden administration's handling of Israel's brutal war in Gaza, which is
bingo. Ding 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 bingo.
Killed at least 43,508 Palestinians, including more than 16,765 children, as well as how the Harris campaign chose to tackle the issue.
Or not tackle the issue. I don't even think she spoke on it.
Issue? Why, sending that old pervert freak Bill Clinton up to Michigan to talk down to Muslims about Palestine.
I understand why young Palestinian and Arab Americans in Michigan think too many people have died.
They have.
I get that. But
Muslims really
there's
said,
no but.
We hate you more than the guy that talked about a Muslim ban. Just a side note, look at this fucking guy. It's like he hasn't had his daily dose of adrenochrome in a week. Someone get this man a fresh child stat. Muslims, Latinos, who else are we gonna blame? Ah yes, women. Yes, Trump improved with young men, but he drew in young women too.
Wow, look at that. 52% of all women who look like me are f***ing stupid.
Despite making abortion the #1 issue in her campaign,
everyone's so fired up and aggressive and just like, rawr. Wow, look at that. 52% of women that look like me. Okay, sis.
Stupid.
Despite making abortion the #1 issue in her campaign, despite Brat Summer, despite the white women for Harris Zoom calls, and most of all, despite the Taylor Swift endorsement, Harris only managed to get +8 with women.
Taylor Swift's fan base is my 9-year-old. I don't know how much her endorsement mattered. For all the people that were so mad, it was like, Swifties can't vote.
A Taylor Swift endorsement, Harris only managed to get +8 with women. Despite it all, many women came out to support Trump, especially Gen Z women. In 2020, 30% of young women voted for Trump.
I didn't know that.
In 2024, 40% of young women voted for Trump. In fact, so many women voted for him that women on TikTok started wearing blue bracelets to signal to other women that they were one of the good ones who didn't vote for Trump.
Swifties, I'm buying as many blue beads and blue hearts as I can.
Is she crying?
And I'm gonna make bracelets so we know who we can trust.
Yeah. Anyway, some young women in response to Trump's victory
hurts.
are starting to get into the 4B movement. A movement started in South Korea. Basically, MGTOW for women. Women giving up on dating men, having sex with men, having babies, marriage, whatever.
All right, my head is starting to hurt. This is crazy. See, and this is why I can't sit down and make videos like SHOEONHEAD, because I didn't know half the things she's saying. I feel like I'm in a crash course right now. Let me ask you a question. We're squaring off all men because breaking up with my Republican boyfriend last night and officially joining the 4B. First of all, 4B is a texture of hair, apparently. I'm sorry, it was a joke. It was a joke. If you know, you know. Women, if you're here, I want you to know this is why there is a vast amount of people who feel like women can't run things, because this is so emotionally charged. It's like we're throwing tantrums because we didn't get our way. And then we're like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Nope, that's sexist. Nope, it's misogyny. La, 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 la. Like she just said, instead of saying, okay, let me figure out why, or let me figure out like what can happen in the next week. Like nothing there. No one wants to hear anything about it. We're just all gonna be celibate. We're gonna be nuns. What's that gonna do? What's that gonna do in the next 4 years?
Ever.
My head is pounding.
We are taking coochie off the table indefinitely.
Cancel all future plans with men.
See how long that lasts.
4B is where it's at. Use their own stupid traditional views against them. Say that you don't want sex before marriage. Say that you are waiting for the right man. They will be seething because they are sexually dependent on women who they call sluts. See, this is the best angle. No sex before marriage. Give them what they voted for. The
Ladies.
conservatives won the election and women are threatening to...
That should have been your position to begin with, honey. Why did it take an election for you to close your legs? The Bible says fornication is bad. Y'all not mad at Jesus, but you're so mad at an election that now you want to close your legs? You know what? Let me shut up.
No sex before marriage. Give them what they voted for. So conservatives won the election and
tired.
women are threatening to not sleep around. It kind of seems like the conservatives won a little more than just the election. I might do a whole video on the 4B movement. Tell me if you're interested in that.
I'm so interested,
I don't know.
Shu.
Anyway, young men did come out and support Trump, and apparently for the reasons I and many others predicted. We asked young men why they voted for Donald Trump. Here's what they said. Nick Sumners, a 21-year-old cosmetic car repairman from Virginia, says he is pro-choice. But when he voted in the 2024 presidential election, he did so for Donald Trump. Despite his personal beliefs, he says that Trump talks about the American people in a way that resonates with him, without, in his opinion, faulting him for his gender and sexual orientation. I'm a straight white man, and I feel like we take the blame for a lot of things. Of course there are bad guys, he adds, insisting that he's not one of them just because he voted for Trump. But what appealed to him about Donald Trump was that his campaign was not coming after us. He was highlighting the American people, which we are. It doesn't matter what color you are, what you may identify as. Since I wasn't excluded, I resonated with it.
Whoa.
When you tell a young...
What did I say? I think a lot of people felt excluded by Kamala, and I don't think... Well, I don't know if it was intentional, but I think just the way she spoke and who she was she just rallied toward women. It made men feel excluded. I do. I think that. I can see that. I can see how a man would say, this woman gonna get in office and can just men don't matter. Like I can see how a man would feel that way.
What you may identify as. Since I wasn't excluded, I resonated with it. When you tell a young white guy, hey, you're an oppressor, and because you're white, you have privileges that your black and Hispanic peers didn't have, and you're inherently at fault, or you're guilty for that, which is what a lot of the left wings or Democrats are saying. We're not racist, we're not misogynistic, we're just normal people, and we are friends with everyone. We're tired of hearing a lot of this BS from a lot on the far left. I feel like there's this cultural frustration that young men have that they're not allowed to be young men. I hope the male loneliness epidemic eats you MAGA scum alive. I hope you feel a hole in your soul and feel unloved until your dying
She
day.
just
I hope
proved
you rot
everything
in
he
your
just
deathbed,
said.
wondering why women looked at you like you had rabies your whole life as your eyes closed for the last time. Unfortunately, the all men suck branding just isn't good for getting men to ally with you.
Oh no, it can't be. Is that the consequences of my own actions?
Yes, the reasonable and rational men know you aren't talking about them, but maybe it's time to realize that most men aren't reasonable and rational. How do you speak to young men when they're literally Nazis? Why are Gen Z males the f***ing Hitler youth? How do we get young men to get on board with the young men eat shit and die
Talk
movement?
trash
Hear me
about
out.
them.
Maybe not calling them Hitler youth? After the election, a YouTuber I am subscribed to uploaded a video called How the Right is Winning Young Men. And I was excited to see his take. But then it comes time to talk about men's issues, and this is how he did it.
But this is the part where I want to enter the male loneliness epidemic. I know. We're all tired of hearing
The entire idea of the male loneliness epidemic is it's this idea that really centers men and men's feelings. The premise is quite a flawed premise to begin with.
I agree. I also, I have such mixed feelings about this. I do. Unpopular though it is on the left to like give grace to the male loneliness epidemic. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm picking my words carefully so the leftists don't murder me. Like, don't rake me over the coals for this. But I think that I understand as much as I can understand a heterosexual man.
Yeah, I think we found the answer to the video title. I have to pick my words carefully so my own movement doesn't attack me for caring about men's issues. You see the issue? If you can't talk about this without having to walk on eggshells in fear of your own allies ripping your head off,
Are they
maybe
really
that
your
is
allies?
part of the reason men are moving right. Also, I feel like this is really important to say. I don't think all these men are moving right. I think just a lot of them hate the Democratic Party and feel alienated from the left. So what was the overwhelming takeaway from the Democrats and the left? To actually start listening to men? No, of course not. Instead, their solution once again seems to be... We need a liberal Joe Rogan. We need a liberal Joe Rogan, ASAP. We need a left-wing Rogan. Democrats are gonna keep losing until they have their own Joe Rogan, their own Elon Musk, until they create their own alternative to Fox News. People saying Harris should have done Joe Rogan are missing the point. That wouldn't have helped her. Liberals need to build their own Joe Rogan. Oh my God, we need a liberal Joe Rogan. Yeah.
The power y'all give Joe Rogan, the power. See, this is why I just be like, I just vote for Jesus. Because y'all stressing me out. We putting way too much power in. I mean, I get it. This is crazy. Oh, Joe, maybe you should have stepped up, Joe.
Had a liberal Joe Rogan. His name was Joe Rogan. But he was too edgy, too problematic, said too many no-no words, talked to too many no-no people about no-no topics. And in 2020, when Bernie Sanders went on his podcast and Joe endorsed him, the Democrat journalist class freaked the f*** out and smeared him for weeks. The left can't have a Joe Rogan because everything that makes Joe Rogan is not allowed on the left. Kamala Harris ditched Joe Rogan podcast interview over progressive backlash fears. So Joe Rogan was too problematic? But Liz Cheney was fine? Listen, you don't need a leftist Joe Rogan or liberal Joe Rogan. You just need leftists and liberals to go on Joe Rogan. And that means not giving a shit about being canceled by your own movement.
Look, you can have an argument with Rogan, agree with him, disagree with him, but what's the problem going on those shows? I got vilified by some of the Democratic establishment because I went on Rogan's show. Now a lot of other people are doing just that.
Anyways, liberals should start doing podcasts and TikToks and whatever aimed at setting the youth straight. Ah yes, there's nothing the youth enjoy more than being set straight.
We don't have the equivalent of Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson to move that man in a feminist direction. By the way, we should educate men that it's actually really great to live with a strong woman who makes money. It's actually easier. Life is easier.
We're going to be under Republican rule for the next 100 years, aren't we? Trump's win leaves Democrats asking, where are our bro whisperers? We have to make entertaining, engaging content that men want to watch and care about.
Who is writing this stuff? Oh, my neck hurts.
Bro whisperers. We have to make entertaining, engaging content that men want to watch and care about. Then, over time, you pepper in more progressive views. So you want to start a normal podcast and then start sprinkling in propaganda? Should you even be saying this out loud? Dems need to seriously put all their money into creating propaganda networks to compete with the right's massive amount of propaganda. Democrats need their own propaganda machine, and I'm not even joking a little bit. First of all,
make it make sense. Y'all don't like propaganda, but we got to fight fire with fire, basically. Essentially, it's like, F it. Let's just do what they're doing, even though we complain about what they're doing. Okay.
Well, again, I don't think we need better propaganda is something you should be saying out loud. Second of all, Democrats already have that, and have had it for decades. It's called Hollywood. It's called every celebrity, every institution, every piece of media, from movies to video games. Every celebrity from Beyonce to Taylor Swift endorsed her. She had Cardi B at all her rallies. She got the fucking Avengers together.
Hi, you guys. Hi, Avengers.
Hey, Scarlett.
Wow, Trump is literally Thanos. By the way, with all these like journalists and people talking about how we need a liberal Andrew Tate, a liberal Joe Rogan, yeah, be prepared to see some of the most forced, overproduced, astroturfed streamers and YouTubers to pop up overnight and subtly or not so subtly start shilling for the Democratic Party. You're gonna start seeing funded DNC plants all over YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, because they really do think the answer to all of this is more podcasts. All the funding in the world won't buy you an audience. You could have $1 million set and the best sound and video equipment ever, but it will not buy you a large and dedicated audience. I
tell people that all the time. This and outside of politics. It's like, how did you get started? I'm like, I got started and I had nothing I was supposed to have. I didn't have lights. I used lights from my window. I didn't have the right filming equipment. I didn't even have headphones, and everybody screamed about it in my comments. But I just started, and we're 350,000 of you in. That's what's tea. Sip on that.
Video equipment ever, but it will not buy you a large and dedicated audience. I've been using a Mac laptop webcam and a shitty snowball mic for over 10 years, and you idiots keep coming back for some reason.
That's
and listen,
it, sister.
It's 2024. Y'all have a camera and a microphone. Be the liberal Joe Rogan you want to see in the world. But the thing is, if people can hear your opinions when they turn on the TV, they're not gonna watch your shit. People tune into alt media to hear alt opinions.
Yeah,
Even the most popular leftist
yeah.
streamers like Hassan, for example, spend a lot of time criticizing the Democratic Party. So it's gonna be hard to build some kind of like Democrat shill Joe Rogan. But I can't wait to see you try. After the election, one of the only politicians I've seen who is actively trying to understand why people voted the way that they did is AOC. When I met her, I whispered into her ear, take the pronouns out of your bio. And she did. My influence. Anyway, after the election, AOC found out that a ton of people voted for her down ballot, but also voted for Trump for president on the same ticket. Curious, she took to her Instagram to ask people why they...
See? So people who voted for her also voted for Trump. And I believe what she was about to say is, and so she took action and wanted to figure out why, because she didn't think this was so. And instead of going, la, 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 I don't understand, she went and sought out information. She did some research.
President on the same ticket. Curious, she took to her Instagram to ask people why they did that. And these were some of their answers. I feel like Trump and you are both real. It's real simple. Trump and you care for the working class. But also you signified change. Trump signified change. I've said lately, Trump sounds more like you. Loved ones say you're both straightforward and challenging corruption and broken government. Because it's different than what has been the last 4 years. Something had to go. I feel that you both are outsiders compared to the rest of DC and less establishment. Voted Trump, but I like you and Bernie. I don't trust either party establishment politicians. The replies, of course, were full of people like, these idiots, these morons, these fools. Most depressing shit I've ever seen. These people sound dumb as hell. Such staggering ignorance and stupidity. The median voter. I hate the median voter. I want to destroy the median voter. Why is the median voter this stupid? I hate the median voter. How could this be real?
Tell us how you feel about the median voter.
Gentlemen on earth. This is giving me a headache. I don't understand the median voter. Listen, it's really not that hard to understand. It's populism, honey. It's why when I went to January 6th and told a bunch of boomers I was a Bernie supporter, a ton of them reacted like this.
I think he's one of the few honest people. I think he's honest. He'd beat Hillary Clinton, and he would have beat Joe Biden, too.
People hate empty suits that sound like they're constantly reading from a script. They want someone who tells it like it is. Someone who fights for the everyman, or at least sounds like they do.
How are you feeling about Trump's upcoming presidency, Trump 2?
I voted for him.
Trump 2.
Oh, you like AOC?
Yeah.
Did you vote for her?
Yeah. Remember one thing about why people voted for Trump. They want change.
The average American voter despises the establishment and will vote for anyone who promises to destroy it. And the fact that none of you understand this is a big reason why you lost and will continue to lose until you do understand it. Capiche? The beatings will continue until the populism improves. How could people have voted for this felon? How could they vote for Trump, especially after January 6th, where he led a bunch of his supporters to destroy that beautiful, shining beacon of hope? Well, first of all, you have to understand that That's not a shining beacon of hope to most people. That is a dirty, disgusting brothel that sold out the future of their children and will probably send them into...
She is going in. Shoo, I'd like to vote for you. How do we get you on the 2028 ballot, honey? How do we do that? Shoo. Shoo.
Most people. That is a dirty, disgusting brothel that sold out the future of their children and will probably send them into the next world war. After all the indictments, the mugshots, the committees, the documentaries, people clearly don't care about January 6th. And that might scare...
You want to know what people do care about? Redemption. People care about redemption. And in this situation, Donald Trump is being indicted, just piling up on him. But somehow he still got a presidential bid, and somehow they want to see him overcome and change the economy and change our government. People love a redemption story. I think more than we give it credit.
Documentaries, people clearly don't care about January 6th. And that might scare some people, but the truth is, a politician that promises safety and affordable food can do 100 January 6s. It's kind of like FDR said. Democracy has disappeared in several other great nations, not because the people of those nations dislike democracy, but because they had grown tired of unemployment and insecurity, of seeing their children hungry while they sat helpless in the face of government confusion and government weakness through lack of leadership. Finally, in desperation, they chose to sacrifice liberty in hope of getting something to eat. Speaking of FDR, let's talk a little bit about the guy that FDR stole a bunch of his ideas from, shall we? Someone who the modern Democratic Party should probably try and learn from. That's right, I finally found an excuse to talk about my favorite politician. The man, the myth, the legend, the kingfish himself, Huey Long. Huey Long was the 40th governor of Louisiana from 1928 to 1932. He was a populist member of the Democratic Party and rose to national prominence during the Great Depression. He took on big oil and Wall Street and drastically helped lift Louisiana out of poverty. Long had many supporters and haters, and to this day is celebrated as a populist champion of the people.
I love her.
At the same time, denounced as a fascist demagogue. To give you a better idea of who Huey was, here are some quotes from the man himself. Corrupted by wealth and power, your government is like a restaurant with only one dish. They've got a set of Republican waiters on one side and a set of Democratic waiters on the other. But no matter which set of waiters brings you the dish, the legislative grub is all prepared in the same Wall Street kitchen. The only difference I ever found between the Democratic leadership and the Republican leadership is that one of them is skinning you from the ankle up and the other from the ear down. But Huey Long wasn't some enlightened centrist, no. The man firmly had a side, and that side was the people. I'm for the poor man, all poor men, black and white. They all gotta have a chance. They gotta have a home, a job, a decent education for their children. Every man a king. That's my slogan. When asked if he cared about the bad press he got, Huey replied, "All I care about is what the..."
Imagine getting bad press or getting criticized for saying that everyone deserves a chance. And this is the systematic issue here, is that, is anyone really for us, left or right? Is anyone really for us, or are all of their ulterior motives and intentions what we should be paying attention to? I'd like to vote for Shoo. Shoo and Jesus, running mates in the next election.
Boys at the forks of the creek think of me. And when Big Oil threatened to leave Louisiana, he said, if they gotta leave, they can go to hell and stay there. They don't make politicians like this anymore. Politicians used to be like mob bosses. Now they go on Call Her Daddy podcasts. Sad. Huey had many powerful enemies, and because of this, he was assassinated in 1935.
I had no
His
idea.
last words were allegedly, "God, don't let me die. I have so much to do." There's a lot of talk online right now about how we need a Joe Rogan for the left, an Andrew Tate for the left, but there's also talk about how we need a Donald Trump for the left, and well, Huey Long was exactly that. And to be completely honest, I don't think you people could handle a Donald Trump for the left. You couldn't even handle Bernie Sanders. You called him a sexist and a racist and did everything in your power to crush him and keep him down. But unlike Bernie, Huey Long wouldn't just lay down and take it. Huey Long would scare the shit out of the modern Democratic Party. But if there's anyone they need to take a lesson from, it's him. All right, time to get out of this costume. I feel like an old hooer.
She's
It should come as no great surprise that the Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find that the working class had abandoned them, Bernie Sanders said in a statement about the results of Tuesday's election. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. Will the big money interest and well-paid consultants who control the Democratic Party learn any real lessons from this disastrous campaign? Will they understand the pain and political alienation that tens of millions of Americans are experiencing? Do they have any ideas as to how we can take on the increasingly powerful oligarchy, which has so much economic power? Probably not. All the groups that Sanders originally courted, young people, Latinos, the working class, are gone. And I don't know if they're coming back. Maybe this is a one-time thing, maybe it's just because of Trump or inflation, or maybe the meme is coming true. Maybe Republicans are the new party of the working class. Democrats working...
You heard it. I've said this a million times. I think people get so stuck on titles and colors in this regard that they're not paying attention to the results or the work. And if you look at it, right, you know, I think especially in the Black community, we're raised to believe that all Black people are Democrats and Democrats are for the people. And I think at one point maybe it was that way. But if you look at what is going on, or again, if you if you put Republican and Democrat, and then you put all the things you desire, believe in, seek after, I think a lot of people would be surprised where there are more tally marks or where they fall under. But because so many of us just do what we're told or fall in line, or, you know, we're just sheep being herded and don't like to read or do our research or even be open to something different than you've been told, then you have sheep being herded. And in this case, like she just said, it's like, if you really look at it, you look at, okay, look at what the Democrats are supposed to stand for, what the Republicans are supposed to stand for, what the Democrats used to stand for, what the Republicans used to stand for, and what is happening right now today. I think a lot of people would just be surprised if they would just educate themselves and do a little bit more research. And again, I am certainly not the most educated, but I'm also not naive enough, ignorant enough, or stubborn enough to just think, I'm told I should be this because I look like this, or I live here, or I, you know, make this amount of money and this is what I should believe and stand firm on it. And it's just like, there were so many young Black celebrities coming out and saying they were voting for Trump, and they were beat into submission to at least publicly coming back out and saying, oh, never mind, I did my research. And I don't believe that actually anybody went and voted for Kamala. I think they still voted for Trump, but they were just trying to save face in the public eye. And, you know, in this day and age, so many people make their money from social media and the public eye. I get why you would like not double down because you don't want to lose your money, or, you know, your the way you're making a living. But I think a lot of young people especially are fighting against the machine and fighting against what they're told to believe and making a way for themselves and an opinion for themselves. And they're being chastised for it.
Maybe Republicans are the new party of the working class. Democrats' working class exodus sets off reckoning within party. Democrats, who have long prided themselves as the party for the little guy, instead strengthened their emerging base of financially secure college graduates this election, while a growing number of blue-collar voters embraced Trump and Republicans. Especially alarming for Democrats this election, the exodus of working-class voters from the Democratic Party included not just white voters, but helped Trump make gains with Latino and Black men. This realignment crystallized a political reality that is tough for Democrats to swallow. With blue-collar voters flocking away from their party over multiple election cycles, Democrats' refashioned base is becoming more upper-class, urban, suburban, and coastal. It's a narrowed coalition that does not bode well for future elections.
Wow.
To put things into perspective, the Trump coalition is closer to the Obama coalition than the Harris one is. That
How y'all like
is
that?
crazy.
How y'all like that?
is wild. That is what we call a potential party switch. And I don't really care about how many leftists or Democrats cope about this. We have better union policies, we have better wages policy. Yeah, that might be true, and I agree, but we don't get to decide who the party of the working class is. The working class does. And if exit polls are anything to go by, basic left-wing economic policy is still incredibly popular. People just hate the Democratic Party. White men without college degrees are going to ruin this country. First of all, white men without college degrees built this country, bitch. Second of all, this is apparently a real Democratic Party strategist saying this. You want to know how to win 2028? Step 1. Stop listening to freaks like this. The election, if having a degree was a requirement to vote. And this is what the election would look like if everyone was allowed to vote. Oh wait, that's this election. I too hate democracy.
And I think Bernie Sanders is wrong. I think the more relevant question actually is what is wrong with America?
Democrats have a smug problem. The day after the election, an NBC News chart circulated on Instagram that highlighting exit poll data showing that the more education you had, the more likely you would vote for Vice President Kamala Harris over President-elect Donald Trump. Some liberals used the occasion to look down upon the icky dummies who were too stupid to know they shouldn't vote for Trump.
Wow.
Yet Trump's victory was both definitive and diverse. He won broad swaths of the electorate, making significant gains in New York and California, and winning over larger percentages of Latino voters and young voters than in 2020. He also won a majority of first-time voters. Large factions of the left condescendingly believe that dumb people are the reason Trump won in 2016 and won again in 2024. And that patronizing, visceral vibe is obvious. It's a massive turnoff to many other voters. It is a mountain smug Democrats have to overcome if they want to reconnect with voters. Once, the coastal liberal establishment had an air of open-mindedness. But now, these elites have evolved into the provincial, narrow-minded scolds they once critiqued. All their education has narrowed their worldview. Their credentialism has built themselves a bubble in which to hide from reality. The contempt many liberals and some leftists have for the working...
Self-righteous, pretentious, hoity-toity is basically what they're saying Democrats have turned into, which is what, for me growing up, I always believed the Republicans were because that's what everybody told me. Whoa. That was a mouthful. Listen, friends. Men lie. Women lie. Numbers don't.
To hide from reality. The contempt many liberals and some leftists have for the working class has never been more on display than it is right now. Even coming from some leftist YouTubers I watch that I know better and spend a lot of their time trying to bring people to the left. Your college degree does not make you any smarter than a working class person without a college degree. And more importantly, don't talk down to a vast majority of the population. Because despite how badly you want to believe it, they are not stupid. They are the people who grow your food, build your houses, pave your roads, fix the plumbing in your luxury apartments. And guess what? There are more of them than there are of you. So maybe you people should start listening to them instead of wagging your finger in their faces as if disagreeing with you is some moral failing, because it's not. These people aren't all racists and Nazis or whatever. They are normal people. They are the proletariat. They're who you should be fighting for. And they don't believe you are fighting for them. More importantly, there is a difference between being educated and being smart. IQ isn't just about how many books you read or how many words you know. A lot of it is about pattern recognition, and boy did I recognize some patterns here. Maybe you guys should have listened to the bimbo with populist brain rot, because she seemed to be right about a lot of this. If the Democratic Party wants to win another election, they need to start understanding the importance of populism. Drop the divisive identity politics and focus on the bread and butter issues, or you are doomed. Become the party of Huey Long again, or you are doomed. But you know what? Maybe you're not doomed. Because if Trump fails to deliver on his promises, or we get like George Bush 3, it's totally possible that the populism vacuum will be open again. Will the Democrats take advantage of this and actually put up a good candidate? No. They're gonna put up like Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom, and the populism vacuum will be filled by people like my Twitter mutual and soon-to-be Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. That is still so weird. What do I do with this power? Hey, JD, best buddy, I have an idea. It's called Patriot Care, and it's healthcare, but our tax dollars go to it instead of bombs. Doesn't that sound cool? Can't beat 'em, join 'em. The fact is, this election was a complete rejection of the liberal ideology.
Oh, shoot.
Or it was just because of inflation and people want to afford eggs again. Yeah, it was probably that. It just kind of sucks to see the party you voted for your whole life, the party you grew up with, just get worse and worse over time. After this, the Democrats are gonna move right in the dumbest ways. They're gonna become like the new neocons, but gay. And I have no idea how a second Trump term is gonna go. I hope it goes well. I don't know. Congrats to RFK, I guess. I'll see you guys in the Adderall labor camps, otherwise known as the concentration camps.
Oh.
Get it? Okay.
I get
anyway,
it.
So that is enough of my yapping. Now I want to hear you yap. Why do you think Trump won? And what could the Democrats do to win 2028? Anyway, if you liked this video, please consider subscribing. Also, if you can, donate to me on Patreon, or you could do a little tip with the little tip jar down below somewhere. It helps the channel a lot, and I appreciate it so much. And I will see you very soon with a new video that is very, very different than this one. Some of you might like it. I know a certain community will. But that is it for now, so bye!
This is unprecedented, you guys. You just got an 1-hour-and-4-minute reaction from me. I don't think that's ever happened. This is the longest reaction I've ever had. I like this girl. I like her. And I think if you ever wanted to know where Britt stands, because you guys asked me and I'm like, I refuse to tell you. I'm not telling you who I voted for. I'm not telling you any of that. I stand very closely to where she stands on a lot of these things. I am a realist and I am anti-conformity. I love Jesus. I love my family. And do with that what you will. I don't know why it matters to anybody, because I don't know what it will do for you. But if you ever want to know where I land very close to where this lady lands, because it's just common sense. All right, sound off in the comments. Keep it kind, and wow, go and have the night you deserve at this point. Jeez.